Welcome, Warrior. This is your Warrior Wednesday wrap up. We have a lot of headlines to get to. So midweek, I want to make you aware of many things going on because I'm afraid by Friday, so many more headlines will be piling up. We got to start midweek and get to it. Thank you for joining the Warriors today. I am here with my producer extraordinaire, also my husband, the biggest warrior I know. Lionel joins me as I am getting the hang. If I want, I want to tell you the truth about all of this with the live chat because I've got to really learn how to do it and look at the comments. I want to make sure I get to you right away. If you send me a question or just want to say something, but I'm getting there, so bear with me. Again, I want to dive right into something on this Wednesday that just was released that I think is very important, and that is our U.S. Surgeon General Vivek H. Murthy just put out today a special advisory for parents and caretakers. Now, right away, and I happen to be out on the mean streets of New York. I just got in a little while ago. It is 93 hot degrees here. And I got all these headlines and press releases. So I scanned this new advisory. And let me tell you why I think it's so important. First, I was getting things where other people automatically, I guess people do that today. They just knock. Why is this? This is a slam against parents. This is awful. Calm down. Everybody take a deep breath. I don't think an advisory about parents' mental health and dealing with their stress, I think it's something we should sit back and we should read. And then we can decide, we can critically analyze it, dissect it, and talk about it. But you can't knock something. It's basically 29 pages, an easy read. And then a couple of pages, I think it's about 6 pages of 6 or 7 pages of all the references with the links. So everything is very well vetted. So I went through this. I am a speed reader twice. I think it's actually very good because look at all the problems we are having today in our homes, in our, with our kids. And it basically, I'll bottom line it for you because I do want all of you to read it. And if you go to Lynn's Warriors Twitter and also Facebook, I just put it up there for you. I'll put it on the website, lynswarriors.org, in a little while when we're done with this. But I want you to read it because obviously it's a no brainer. Parents and caretakers do have a lot of stress. We have learned in the last few years there's even more stress. And the bottom line is, why aren't we talking about this more? Because you know, and I know, uh, a parent who feels good about themselves and can handle stress is a better parent to the child, right? The kids are smart. The kids pick up on everything. Look at all the problems we have. So when I read things like 41%, this was a fact in this advisory, 41% of the parents were saying that they deal with stress. 41% now, I want to repeat that, and they cannot function. Think about that. That's more than a third. It's close to a half almost. 41% of parents, and they can't deal with it. So we're going to have to start, it can't be what it was or what we think it was. We now live in an environment of, everybody's talking about everything. They're spilling everything. So let's spill some of this. Let's talk about all of this. Let's deal with the stress. Because remember, in my parents' day, maybe your parents too, depends on your age, they didn't openly talk about what we talk about, stress, human trafficking. And on top of all of this, and you know this, we have to now deal the parents with devices. That being said, I just read a startling fact, again, that I just added to Lynn's Warriors Twitter and Facebook. 30% of 7-year-olds are on X, otherwise known as Twitter. And I thought to myself, where are the parents? Here's where I do become a little judgy about everything. Although there's parental autonomy, you can certainly do what you want with your children. 30%? Why is a 7-year-old on X when there are basically no guardrails to predators, to content, unless you as the parent or caretaker have done your homework and put those guardrails on? Why does a 7-year-old belong on Twitter? They don't. They don't. So I want everybody to read this advisory. I want everybody to calm down about the advisory. He is not pointing out anybody's a bad parent. He's calling for more resources for parent, more childcare resources for parents. He's calling for more school and parental connection so everybody can work together. He's calling for the devices. They interfere with all of our lives. Let's put them, down for a little bit. Everything we call for at the Warriors. So I want everybody to go and read this mental health advisory for parents and caretakers. I think it's a wealth of information. Just read it. And then we can come back and talk about it. I want to welcome, I see Edie Crowley is here. Nick Nightingale always gives me a thumbs up for the algorithms. Edie, you're so gracious and kind. The clothing you sent is going to good use. I want to throw that in there. Who else do we have here? Gracie Loves George is saying hello to Edie while I'm saying hello to you. But where are the parents? This is from Joa08, if that's how you're saying it. Where are the parents? I asked myself that same question. Thank you for sharing your voice. Well, see, that's the thing. Where are the parents? A lot of the parents are on the devices themselves. But here's what we have to take. We got to come down. Here's what we have to take into consideration. Today, a lot of the stress factors, and this advisory lays it out in the 29 pages, economic stressors, right? Parents have to work multiple jobs. Parents are tired, exhausted. The biggest fear is 1 in 4 parents, as this advisory points out, do not have in the last month enough money to meet their bills, to buy food, the necessities, the everyday necessities. We're not talking extras and trips and all that stuff. The necessities. And and I know when there's economic stress, right? Like none of this is a no-brainer, all this information, but we gotta read it. I mean, you gotta look at all the links that go with it to prove things and the facts about all this stuff. What parent can deal with that if you can't put food on your table? What parent can deal with all the stresses that go along with small children who, if they're on devices, are seeing, because we know there's addictive algorithms and it's the constant comparing and things like that. This even goes for the young children. I just had a parent say to me, his 3-year-old, again, that's up to him, watches things on Instagram and he says they have the guardrails around it and they watch the content, but they're cooking dinner or something. And when they take the iPad away, it's on the iPad, 3-year-old, I'm against that for a 3-year-old. I'd say give a child a shoebox and some stuff and let them have creative play, but that's me. But anyway, this is his choice with his wife. And when they take the iPad away from the 3-year-old, the 3-year-old goes crazy and screams and cries and kicks. That should tell you right there, take that iPad away. Get your child off of that immediately. They're 3 years old. They're going to forget about the iPad real quick. Remember, you're in charge. You're paying for the iPad and the internet service. Why would you want that for your child? So here's the thing. I want everybody to read it, look at the information, just absorb it. I agree with Dr. Murthy. We have always needed more resources for parents. We have always, always, always needed more to help them. Let's get it out in the open. There's nothing to be afraid of. And let's push for this on our elected officials. This should be the stuff in this election season we're talking about. Not that one host of a podcast is making fun of another host from, I'm not using names here, a host of a TV news program, right? Low-hanging fruit. These are the issues. Let's see. Joa08, if that's the way you're saying it, is in restaurants with family and friends, all looking down at the device. Agree. I've seen it. We have seen it nonstop. Nick Nightingale, just got my 6-month car insurance bill, went up $43. Previously would go up less than $10 every 6 months. And Peter's saying hello from Tampa, Florida. I want to give everybody shout outs and thank you for all of the support and joining us today and listening. Right now, we don't have a set time for any of these lives. We'll get to that, but because of the work we do at the Warriors, it changes. I can have, just to give you an idea, the best schedule laid out, and I might get a call that I need to help with a survivor. I might get a call, I need to go into a meeting. So right now, we don't have, every day at 4:00. Can't do it. We're getting to it, but you gotta make sure you're keeping an eye on everything to know when we do go live. But I really think today is so important that you hear and you read about this advisory, because we know mainstream media, they're not going to be covering it. And if they do, it'll be something negative. But I'm here to tell you it's a positive. I want to cover that. And I also want to cover, undoubtedly, and I did a video on it right here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed because it is very interesting. I heard my husband say this and I started checking actually. For some reason, people get unsubscribed. Who knows? I mean, call me wacky. I don't know how these things are happening, but always make sure you are subscribed. And also, we now have memberships that we're going to be building exclusive content and different visuals and different things for you. So look at that membership button. And if you would honor me with joining and supporting the Warriors, because we need all the support we can get, because you know what we talk about, a lot of people do not want to address at all. I want to point out, though, this story recently about this telegram and this Patel Darov, I guess his name is, and how he was not really sure of the story. Nobody can really give me an answer except his private plane landed in France, and he was arrested. Apparently, there was a warrant out because on Telegram, which is a messaging app, you know, like WhatsApp, messaging app, there is so much vile content, such things as CSAM, child sexual abuse material. Bag Biz, new member. Thank you, Bag Biz. Big applaud for you.
Bag Biz. That's an old one. That's
well, we've seen Bag Biz
here.
That's
a voice from the past.
No,
yes.
Bag Biz is a fan. Bag Biz is a look. Nick Nightingale. Thanks, Bag Biz. Let me see. Sarah Gray. Let me just before I get to Telegram. I follow LFR Family. He puts out good content, but he's also a creative content coach. Well, you know, he has a ton of followers. Thank you for sharing that. But I'm old school. I'm going right with directly to you. I'm giving you facts. I'm giving you reality. I'm giving you what I think you need to hear. And if I build a new member, there's Lori Lewis, new member. Thank you, Lori. You know what? That's the way I operate. I don't want to be a creative content. No knocking about anybody else. But I could sit and be a creative content person all day long. I've got to be boots on the ground. I've got to be with that mother who has a child who needs food. I have to be with a group where there might be some domestic violence. I have to be out there. So there you go. That to me is the real work, because I think that's what I do. I'll just leave it at that. Gracie Loves George. I'd subscribe to both, but can't from my iPhone. What's the deal with that, everybody? With you can't subscribe or give money? They take money when you do it on the iPhone? I have to research that because I just have to research that. I'm not up on that, why that happens. I have been hearing a few things like that. But here's what I want to say about Telegram. Then I heard, I never got a clear picture, his brother who lives in Russia, and I got this from a source actually, and just this morning, is the real brains behind Telegram, which really came about in about 2013 or thereabouts. And I marched to a different beat because, yes, there's horrific content on Telegram, right? It is a place where a lot of kids are going. The predators are there. They're openly interacting with kids. But that goes back to parents. Parents have to understand what Telegram is, because I'm telling you, I've spoken about Telegram since about 18 months ago. I brought it up. Nobody knew what Telegram was. Because we heard a lot of things. We saw a lot of things. We knew a lot of things about Telegram. And everybody, I don't think one person, no, they didn't. I would remember. Nobody, I'd say, do you know what Telegram is? And they'd say, no. So it starts with, I am a firm believer here at the Warriors. If we give you the information, you're going to want to share it and take action, but you have to know the information. But here's what I have to say about Telegram, and I'm going against the grain, so to speak, right here, is that I say and maintain, yes, horrific information on this platform, awful stuff. It's up to a parent to be as aware and educated as they can, or caretaker. Because remember, families today are made up of grandparents, aunties and uncles. We have different dynamics today than we had 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So you'll hear me say caretakers a lot. And also, every platform. Now, here's my argument. Yes, it's horrific on Telegram. And then I heard, I'm digressing a little bit, but I heard then he was in custody but not charged. I heard this morning, again, I have to do a little investigative work from a source. He was brought to a police station, but he's been released. So I don't know what this is all about. But here's what I have to say. You know, I guess he made somebody angry, because you have to go after every single platform. Every platform has horrific CSAM, child sexual abuse material on it. And I don't want to hear Telegram is worse than, I don't know, Facebook. Because if there's just one case of CSAM, that's it. Everybody's got to be held accountable. This is what I maintain at the Warriors. This is my opinion. So why isn't everybody held accountable? Well, we know right now and I don't want to get out into those weeds, as everybody says, so you glaze over on me. But right now, the platforms have everything going in their favor with Section 230 Communications Decency Act from 1996, where they're a billboard. Now, there is a piece of legislation where they want to sunset this and they want to change up, which I think after almost 30 years is a good idea, right? Because so much has changed in 30 years. Who could have figured out there'd be all this predation against children? I don't really think anybody started out thinking this, but we have to understand whether it's phone scams, kids, criminals are always 10 steps ahead of law enforcement, the public, and 20 steps ahead of legislation, maybe 50 steps, because so much red tape. So I just maintain that we at the Warriors, we want everybody on these platforms held accountable. But because they aren't, as of right now, despite a lot of legislation floating around, it is time for everybody to stand up for the children. Not just talk about it, but definitely say, we're not having this. Again, when 30% of 7-year-olds in the United States are on X, do you think that would happen in China? I'm sorry. No, it does not happen in China. They don't even allow their kids on TikTok except for 40 minutes a day to learn about China and their history and mathematics and science and nice things. So, we got to take charge here. We got to take charge here. Side meat number 7. Thanks for all you do, both of you. That's
Indeed.
right. We empower each other. But I want to get into a couple of other things that I've been talking about for a long, long time. But before I do that, I want to remind you again, because you might have just joined in, about this parental advisory about parent and caretaker mental health. Again, listed on our Twitter and on our Facebook from Dr. Vivek H. Murthy, our U.S. Surgeon General. It is very important you read it, absorb it, and we start talking about it. And we all push together, because our hashtag is Community Creates Change, for resources for everybody, right? Why, after all, don't get me started, things are going to these illegal aliens. We as Americans demand, and will urge our elected officials. It's our time. But 63 million parents right now are in the United States have a child or more children under 18. And then we also have millions more of these caretakers. We don't even have the number in the study taking care of children. So that's millions upon millions that need help. The stress is real. The financial difficulties are real. This is what we've got to get out in front of and start talking up and out about. But I want to talk about going back to something I've talked a lot about. Oh, before I get there, I want to say that September 11th, I'll be talking about these issues as I go to Washington, D.C. on that sacred day. And we'll be talking. It will be Senator Cruz, Senator Marsha Blackburn, different members of the Senate, some different coalitions and organizations, a true roundtable of what's not working in all of this. What's not working? We have legislation pending, for guardrails around. I want to remind everybody, nobody's trying to steal anybody's privacy with Kids Online Safety Act. It simply says these big tech platforms like Telegram, like Facebook, you need to have moderators. You need to spend the money. Why does it fall on kids and parents to have all this safety stuff? You need to step up. You see something bad on your platform, you take it down. That's all Kids Online Safety Act breaks down to. So we're going to be talking about how we can make Kids Online Safety Act happen. This is a great time. I urge all of you, be proactive, be a warrior. I'm calling on you. Go to house.gov, senate.gov, find out who represents you. All you have to say is, I want Kids Online Safety Act. That's it. You hit the send button, it automatically goes to who represents you. We have this sitting in the House right now. They're at recess in Washington right now. I don't know why, with all these things going on, maybe they should not have a recess. But anyway, we want to use this period, the next couple of weeks, really just basically 2 weeks, to urge them. This bipartisan act must be passed. We need something something that helps parents, something that helps kids. And I will be very vocal. And, I've been to Washington before. I have spoken in front of senators before. I've been at the White House. I don't do PowerPoints. I don't do prepared, statements. I speak from the heart. It doesn't work. Things don't work. What are we all doing here? And so they better get ready. They better buckle up because I'll be there on September 11th. But I want to talk about something I did talk a lot about in different videos. And now I'm seeing it. I saw something on Fox this morning, earlier today, this Tren de Aragua, this violent, vicious Venezuelan gang that started in the prisons there, that they've emptied a lot of their prisons out. And these people are floating around the United States. Now, New York City, is a sanctuary city, in Chicago and other places, people would say to me, well, you're in a sanctuary city, Denver, sanctuary city, Well, now, and I would say to you, it is coming to your town. It is coming to your town. These people are going to spread out and take over. And now we have Denver, who took in a lot of people. It has spread out to Aurora, which is kind of a suburb of Denver. And they've taken over. They've taken over. We have spoken about this with law enforcement. They have filled me in for a couple of years now. DEA also, Homeland Security, that they are now in Aurora, Colorado. They have overtaken, I don't know what that thumbs down was, but you can have all the thumbs down you want. And you know what you can do? You can turn this off because nobody's forcing you to listen to Lynn's Warriors. But maybe that was a thumbs down for Tren de Aragua. That's how I'm going to look at that, because I'm giving you information, again, you may not hear anywhere. Let's see. So they are now in this suburb of Denver, and they have overtaken a couple of apartment buildings, and they're moving in more illegals. And also they are, what I want to stress to you about this group, they just have no, I don't even know what to say, boundaries. They think nothing of, I had to stop for a minute because I'm thinking about my words I'm using here, because who knows? I'll just leave it at that. But they have no regards for women and girls. They see a girl walking down the street, they'll grab her. Nothing about crime, but they're into weapons, weapon trafficking, drug trafficking, definitely sex and labor trafficking. They're into violent, vicious everything, and there's no stopping them. Why? Flojo's flags, if I'm reading this correctly. Hey, I just subscribed. I'm Edie Crowley's son. Thank you, Mrs. L, for what you're doing out there for the children. Here to help spread benevolence and compassion among everyone. Thank you so much. And we love Edie Crowley so much. She is such a warrior and such a supporter. Shares, tweets, Facebook, everything she can do.
And the artwork.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
And the beautiful artwork, because we're going to have to add another room onto our New York City apartment and have the Edie Crowley Museum of Art. I think that's a good idea. So thank you. Thank you for that support. But I want to say that we have to be aware. I don't care if you live in a rural area. You can get away with more in a rural area, I think. Nobody's really looking, weapons, drugs, whatever, than almost you can in a city. At least I think that. So for Aurora, Colorado now, and I have to tell you something. I was in Aurora, Colorado not that long ago, and I saw Trump flags. So I don't care. It's Colorado and close to Denver. I saw Trump flags. These people do not want it, from what I hear. They are more, for lack of a better word, conservative. I don't like labels. I don't like names. This is about us Americans, common sense. I don't even like Democrat. I don't like Republican. Again, these are the issues I want to see each of our candidates talking about. Not just human trafficking is bad. Okay, here is my solution for this, right? And hopefully we're going to see some things next week with the debate, maybe, and get some action. This is what the American people want. I travel the country. I'm involved in a lot of things. They don't care about all this other stuff, okay? Let us talk about families, kids, safety, the economy, how are parents affording everything? That's what we need to speak about. So I'm very I'm very hopeful, but if I may say, I'm also scared, and I'm a warrior. I'm not scared about anything, but I'm scared when I hear the Biden-Harris administration admits to misplacing, losing, can't find over 320,000 kids. Because if they're saying that, it could be 500,000. We don't know. Nobody seems to know. All these people working in the administration or law enforcement will say, Lynn, we don't really know. It's a very excuse me, I start to get very emotional about the kids because we have 320. They're admitting. We had 85,000 a year ago, April. That's over 400. And I keep saying, so the 85 is with the 320. And people will be like, I guess. And these are people who are supposed to know. Where are all these children? This is what we should be talking about. This is why we have to talk about not only a wall, which is a given. Where were all these kids? What happened to potentially 500,000 kids? NGOs don't know. NGOs don't talk about it. Why aren't Republicans out screaming about the NGOs working on the border, making millions upon millions of dollars to do vetting, to do placement of kids, to make sure these sponsors are the correct types? What is everybody doing? Because as far as I know, I heard there's black tarps up. You can't see anything. There are various children's kind of ranches spread out by the border under lock and key. The public can't go in there. You can't ask questions, right? What is going on here? Bag Biz says, how can they hide 500,000 kids and nobody sees anything? Well, that's what I'm asking. And if my sources, which are great, can't tell me, I'm finding that unacceptable. So I'm finding Republicans unacceptable right now. I'm finding Democrats definitely unacceptable. These are the issues we want to talk about. So I never tell anybody how to vote because I just don't do that. But what I do tell you is when you go to vote, and everybody needs to vote, no matter what you think of what's going on, you need to go out and vote, okay? Think about what is best for families, kids, what is best for our future adults, our future leaders, because I can't imagine. And remember, and I kind of leave you with this. Well, I have a couple of things to say. I want to go back to the schools for a minute because right here in New York State, our Governor Kathy Hochul has said by 2025, she will have state legislation that says no cell phones in schools. Okay. Currently, we have 28 states addressing on the state level, no cell phones in schools. Some have banned, some have to do legislation. It's still a mixed bag of what's going on, right? But 28 states are addressing it. Then we have individual states. I was on my friend's great show yesterday, Ozarks, Fox AM out of Missouri. And we're talking about there is a movement, and I've been talking about this a long time, but it is in the media lately, cell phone free, schools movement. And we all know kids are distracted, right? Kids need to be there to learn. Teachers need to be able to handle teaching. Kids need to be communicating with each other, not distracted. Many teachers have reported to us they have the phone on their lap, they're looking down. Again, kids in the cafeteria, like we see in the restaurants, sitting next to each other, texting each other instead of just talking to each other. I think it's a great movement. It is necessary. I don't like the word ban. I like the word, let's learn how to make this work properly to make everybody happy. So I put a little poll up yesterday under our community tab here on YouTube. What do you think? And because I'll tell you why. I think it was 74% said they go along with this banning in the schools. I'm going to explain that a little bit. And I think it was like 26% said no, they want to be able to have access to their child. The biggest pushback in all of this is from what we are hearing from the parents, that the parents want access to their child 24/7. Now, we haven't worked out all the kinks, but there are things like you go to school, there's different scenarios, again, not worked out. There's a community area where there are cubby holes. Remember cubby holes like in kindergarten and stuff? And everybody's got a cubby hole and you lock away your phone. Then, which I think is actually a better idea, it will cost money, but so be it. If we have money for illegals, we should have money to protect our children. That's another program. Each classroom has the cubby holes, and you put them in the yonder pouches. Those little, you can lock the phone in. So the child, if you're in that classroom, and this may make parents feel better, because again, parents are worried about what happens at school, in schools these days. They want this access to their child. They want to track their child, right? This yonder pouch has a little thing, if it's in the classroom and something happens, you can just walk over and get it, or it's in the pouch under the desk or something. So all these little kinks have not been worked out yet, but I think that's a better idea. The phone is near the child. The problem is it will take time to put it in the pouch going into each classroom. You got to take it out. You're in the hallways, do it again, but whatever. We'll have to build it into the schedules. But we want to keep kids safe. When about 38% of the kids across the country, 38 to 40, are not proficient in science and math, remember, that's an estimate overall. We have to do better, right, for our kids. So be on top of that. See what your state is doing. We have the movement, the whole thing listed. If you go to lynswarriors.org, we have take actions. If you go to resources, there's a lot of great stuff there. We've got the whole how you can participate in this phone-free schools movement. How, if there's nothing in your school, because again, 28 states talking about legislation. There's nothing permanent. There's nothing on the books really. How you may start just with your child's school, and how you can get a group of parents together or do it yourself and just present them. We've done it all for you. The work is all there. How you can present why, because it's not good enough to say phones distract. Remember, we at the Warriors always like to back everything up: facts, truths, reality. We just don't say something's bad. Yes, human trafficking is bad. Why is it bad? See, that's what I'm tired of, that people just say things are bad, awful. Well, why? But when we say why, we also have to take actions to make things better. Remember, always takeaways. Let me look at some of these, let's see, comments. Joa08, the children were safe at school before, no phone, we did fine. But here's what I say about that. We live in a different world these days. We live in this world where we do have devices. Remember, at the Warriors, I always try to think it's a different world. We're dealing with different things. Devices are here to stay, whether it's the Fitbits, the iWatches, the kids have phones. We know that kids 9 to 17 have access to 4 different devices in their homes. And we know it's something like 93% of 14 to 18-year-olds all have iPhones and things like that. So we have to deal with what we have. So I say things are happening in schools that maybe didn't happen. Again, I'm being careful with my words I use because YouTube, who knows? And so we have to figure out a way to keep the parents and caretakers happy, keep the kids happy. But remember, we're the adults, right? So we're not going to get pushed around with from the kids. We have to take into account, we've always taught at the Warriors that no devices in the bedrooms at night. The parents collect them, right? Now, kids may scream, cry in the beginning. I guarantee you, we have reports where this is done, that the kids and parents are much happier, because in the bedrooms at night, kids need to rest. They need to sleep. They need to turn off their brains. If they're swiping all night, and then we've got those algorithms, it's not the kid's fault. It's not the parents' fault. Those algorithms are on purpose directing children towards harmful content, whether it's pornography, whether it is videos on eating disorders, just horrible bullying things. We don't want our kids to look at that, right? So if you didn't put your guardrails on there, and I know it's tough if you've got teens, 14, 15, 16, 17, this is why you need to have these open and honest discussions with them, especially with the sextortion. We have children killing themselves instead of going to their parents to say, I sent a nude image, I received a nude image. That is something else I just posted on Lynn's Warriors Facebook and Twitter, I believe, right before we started, what to do. Because teachers are reporting the kids are exchanging nude images. They don't think twice about it. We're not going to overreact. We got to deal with it and deal with it appropriately. and you have to know what that is all about and how to talk to your child. But we want kids to be rested. We don't want them going to school. Many teachers have reported in the last few years, kids are falling asleep, their heads on their desks, right? Because they're up all night. It's addiction being online. We know this. Yes. Paul says they will say it's an alarm clock for them. Well, I don't care. You have to go out to a store and get them an actual alarm clock. They still sell them because I've seen them in places, and take away the device. It has to be done. Let's see. The tech is not going away, but people were never truly instructed how to use it. That is Joa08. I agree with that correctly. This was just all thrust upon us, but there's ways. Listen, we have a lot of people going back to flip phones. I had a flip phone in the beginning. I loved it. And it's also kind of inconvenient. You have to open it, look at it. They have phones for kids that look exactly like iPhones through the company gabb.com. Also, bark.us helps you monitor material. There's a company called Pinwheel. These phones and watches look exactly like real iPhones, like the real devices, yet they don't have internet access. So your child can still call. You can be in contact with your child. They can text, but you have no internet. And we've got a lot of kids on these devices. It is something you need to look at, okay? Because a lot of parents say, I don't want my child feeling left out. Well, I don't want these kids subject to these horrible, creepy monster predators, criminals, right? This is the way you as the adult, you have to think. Flojo's vlogs. Children should not decide if they want to change gender at a young age because they don't have an understanding of things. Yet I think it's disgusting to do to a child. Well, Flojo, you're speaking about a different program. That is something, again, that when our own American Academy of Pediatrics, for what it's worth, puts out a few months ago that basically nobody covered. Everything should be exhausted before any of this with a child. And basically they were saying until the child is 18, which is a legal adult. That includes therapy. We know about all of this stuff. It's not even worth a conversation. It's just wrong. But we could digress and get into men and women's sports right here, boys and the girls' sports. We're not going to do that today. We're going to stick to it's back to school time. It's back to safety. Parents have to really start stepping up. Caretakers, grandparents, it is a full circle of full family partnership. Phoenix says, hi, Lionel.
Hello.
So I leave you with this. The takeaway for today is we want to work extensively, families, kids, empower you, help you in this dark, overwhelming world. Remember, when you go to vote, who's the best candidate for all of this? And remember, you have a voice. Do not just complain. They register every email, every phone call, every letter, if you're that old-fashioned. In these congressional offices, they keep logs. We have to get the Kids Online Safety Act, referred to as KOSA. Just look at everything Lynn's Warriors, you'll see it there. Passed this bipartisan act. I mean, it's incredible. We have 91-3. It passed out of the Senate. I, of course, want to know who the 3 idiots were who will vote against this, but I'll leave that for now. 91. Tremendous bipartisan support, something these days we do not see in Washington. The Washington of the old days is gone. People just don't come together. So this was a tremendous something for legislation for child safety coming together. So now we need it in the House. So I urge all of you, do something. Don't just complain. Going back to school, I will recommend you must read this parental advisory on parents' mental health. It's okay. Let's talk about it. Let's give you resources to help you. Being a parent anyway, nobody can tell me being a parent isn't stressful. You can read all the books you want. You could be given all the lectures you want until you have your own child, grandchildren, and you're working and dealing with them, and you may be tired. Again, we talked about financial stress. We've got to come up with better assistance and helping of everybody. I'll be doing my part as the warrior with our team. We need you to do your part. And remember, there are resources, and don't be embarrassed. For instance, if you really are in crisis, the suicide 3-digit 988. Now, it's not just for suicide. You can call. Thank you for the thumbs up.
Sorry about that.
Oh, is that you?
That's us.
Oh, you're giving me a thumbs
I
up?
turned that up.
Well, wait a minute. Did you give me a thumbs up?
No, if you.
All right, I'm getting used to everything. But I want to say this suicide hotline 988, just 3 digits, like 911, 988. You could just call to ask questions. So it's not like even you're in, well, my goodness, if you are in that suicide, or a child or a family member, but you can call and ask questions. You can call and just ask. It's anonymous. You're not held responsible for anything. If you think somebody's in trouble, what are local resources? And they will tell you. You tell them whereabouts you live. They will give you state and local resources. Why wouldn't you use this? If you're in crisis, you're having a mental health, can't deal with your kids, I don't know, you call the 988. You find out. And that's what I have to say. Preventative. Enough of the slapping of the Band-Aid. Yes, we need to do a lot of healing in our country, but we need preventative. Because my goodness, I can't think what's going to be happening. Well, I can't even think in the next 2 months, that as all of this is speeding up and seems so much out of control. Before we finish, let me just look at some of the comments. No phones needed. This is by Side Meat number 7. No phones needed in young lives, busy with chores, fishing, hunting, and living on,
Sorry about that.
Living on the land. Phones are for space people. Well, that's a nice sentiment, but you know and I know most kids have phones. Most parents have phones. This is just the way, again, we got to deal with what we have. Another thing, I think, remember, going back to school, we want to give kids structure and schedules. Believe it or not, kids like it, where, you have a certain time to go to bed. I'm a big promoter of, I don't care if it's 15 minutes a day, everybody reads a book. They don't read on their phone. They're not reading on the computer, an actual hardcover book. We have to get kids back into feeling the pages, turning the pages, getting to the end of a book and feeling accomplished, reading an actual book. 15 minutes a day, that's nothing. I am not a big proponent of, when I went to school, especially high school, some nights I was doing 5 hours of homework. I think it's, in retrospect, the most ridiculous thing. I don't know why you go to school all day. I think reading 15 minutes a day is a great thing. I think also maybe 30 to 45 minutes of reviewing to give you structure, right? You need to lay out, you've heard these things, lay out all the backpack, everything by the front door, everything's laid out the night before. Lunch is made night before if you're doing all that stuff. Structure, structure, structure. Kids look for that, even if you think they don't. We got lots of studies. That's what the kids like. So let me finish up. Edie says, I believe with all the challenges of teaching, cell phones are a distraction. Absolutely. I was an art teacher for a youth development program in Allentown, Pennsylvania, the Caring Place. Cell phones not allowed. We know. Yes, Edie, we know the phones, full agreement, are a distraction. Again, they were, going back to that other comment, thrust upon us. Nobody was told how to put these, safety pins, or how to put the guardrails, or we just handed them, right, to our kids. We thought it was cute, right? Phones. Now, all these years, going on 30 years later, we're paying the price. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's not anybody's fault. You know whose fault it is? It's the fault of the platforms, right? It's the fault of them thrusting all of this as this big money making. Remember, it always comes down to money. That's the reason for all of this stuff. And kids make a lot of money, but you're going to stick with the warriors. You're going to become a warrior. You're going to remember our hashtag community creates change. I'm going to thank you for joining us today. Gracie loves George. My grandsons are all about reading. No devices are allowed. I like that. Nick Nightingale, almost 50 likes, just saying, well, keep the, I guess I should say like this. Again, I'm getting used to everything. You know what? If I have one person here listening.
46 likes. Come on. I need 50. I need 50 likes. Do it.
I got 2 new members, and I thank them for that.
Every like changes the course and the trajectory of the demographics.
Well, that is true, because we want to get this warriors information. We want to get into the rotations. I'm not shy about that. We want us to be the leaders, right? This is all common sense stuff. We have to get to the front of the pack. I could sit here and I could just talk low hanging fruit and certain things to get clicks and likes. We don't do that at the Warriors. It's
one more
information.
like,
One
just
more like.
one more for 50,
I feel like I'm at something. I don't know what. The telethon. The phones are ringing like we're at
Operators
a telethon.
Operators are standing by.
Hit that like. Here's Edie Crowley. Hit that like for Mrs. L, please. 50. It says 49. Why is Gracie Loves Yours saying 50? Paul Jenkins auction. Maybe it says 50 on that end. Mrs. L is
kicking the algorithm.
Well, we want to become the leaders. Why not? We want to be the stars with you, the parents, the kids. I don't know about you. I'm sick of all this other stuff. I am tired of this nonsense.
See what Phoenix Benjamin says. I'm 53. When I was in school, if a phone was mentioned, it was my parents giving permission for a whooping. Interesting indeed.
Interesting. Well, we only had a payphone in the basement of our school, and you had to use, yes, I date myself, a nickel. It went up to a dime at some point in high school, but it was a nickel when we started. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you. Thank you for your Flojo's vlogs. Thank you for your super chat and subscribing. Lori Lewis, Bag Biz, you are indeed warriors. And everybody who tuned in today, warriors, think about what I'm telling you. This is the important stuff. Don't waste your time with all that other junk. Remember, it's about taking care of yourself, respecting yourself, keeping yourself holistically. I mean this truly. And those around you. That's the important stuff. And remember our hashtag, community creates change. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk again soon.